All right, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome back to the Mali Mission podcast. You're listening to episode 15 with your very host, Farhan Rana. All right, this is going to be a really interesting episode. It's going to be talking about goals and how to really crush them and really have a sense of achievement out of them. Um, and just before we get started, like I do with every single one of my episodes, I want to give you a free 7-day workout guide. You can just use it, make the most of it, and really just start seeing some tangible results in the gym. And you can get that at farhanrana.com/workout. That's FARHANRANA.com/workout. Get it, download it, use it on your phone in the gym, and you should be good to go. All right, so let's start talking about this topic. Um, I don't remember the exact title I used for it, but that doesn't really matter too much. I'm just going to get started on the main advice that I want to give you guys. Um, the first thing is going to be you want to operate on when, not if. I want you to kind of think about that before I kind of give you my take on what I just said. Operate on when, not if. Let me give you an example. Say you're applying for you want to get a job, right? You're applying, you're doing informational interviews, you're doing networking, you're doing all this kind of stuff. And in the back of your mind, you have this almost subconscious dialogue which is telling you, if I get this job, like it'll be so amazing for me. Like I'll be able to pay all my bills, I'll be able to take care of my parents, I'll be able to do XYZ in my life. But the way you're approaching this in the back of your mind is like, if I get this job, right? Now, when you shift that and when you start operating on when I get this job, I'll be able to do ABC in my life. That makes a huge amount of difference. Like you don't understand like how having this really positive and confident outlook on life, it makes all the difference in your life. And I'll just give you I just give you a very simple example of how this translates in your own life. Because I mean, think about it. When you in that example, like who's going to have more of a chance of actually getting a job which is well paying and all this kind of stuff? It's going to be the person who operates on this sense of like when I get this job. It's almost like I it's going to be inevitable. Like why shouldn't I get this job? Like I have all the qualifications, I can do ABC, it's all this I have everything that I need to do. Um so why shouldn't this work out for me? And the reason why I'm starting on this point specifically when it comes to talking about goals is that we often look for tactics and we're looking for like tips and hacks and all this kind of stuff oh wake up like at 4:30 a.m. and then down like 10 110 milliliters of water and then get started on your day. I mean that's just that's I mean sure some of those tips and hacks like they might work, but what you really need to start out with and what you really need to focus on is having this almost unrealistic sense of like this sense of confidence and the sense of like I can do this. Because if you don't believe that you can do it, like why are you bothering like putting in any amount of work towards your goal, right? Like what's the point? If you're going into this like half-heartedly, like you're really not going to get the results you want out of life. And I mean, when you really think about this on a meta level, like when you approach your whole life like this, like wouldn't it be a shame for you to go through all of your life making all these conscious decisions in terms of what you want to do and you don't really think that you can do it, or you only believe that you can get there halfway, or that you're okay with mediocrity or like average results out of life? Like why would you want to live like that? Like I'm not telling you what your goals should be. I'm not telling you that you need to be a millionaire, or you need to be like have an 8 pack or whatever. I'm not telling you to do that. But what I'm saying is that if you get real about yourself and you ask yourself like what do I really want out of life? I mean, it could be like even spiritual goals. You could be like, I just want to have immense peace and clarity, and to do that, I need to get rid of all these distractions. I need to get healing. I need to get therapy, all this kind of stuff. I'm just giving an example. But if you don't truly believe you can get to that state and you're just like, I'm okay with being distracted half my day, having like temper tantrums, getting angry at my family, all this kind of stuff, I mean, what are you doing? You need to first, like, the first step is obviously setting the goals, but then what goes along with that is operating on when I get this goal, not on if. That it's such a huge thing, and I don't know if I'm conveying this with as much conviction as I want to, but when I started implementing this, when it came to this podcast, when it came to this YouTube channel, I didn't like I had the choice to be like, yeah, if I start posting every now and then and I get like a certain number of subscribers, and if um I get better at the speaking at the camera, all this kind of stuff, then this ABC will happen for me. Excuse me. I went in with this with like when I get better, when I get more subscribers, when I create this movement around every man having a manly mission. That made all the difference. That's why I'm still here. Like you can kind of relate if you have put in any amount of effort into your own life and you've just been like, okay, I'm gonna make this happen no matter what. It's only a matter of time before I get to this point and I'm just like getting the results I want. It has to operate on when, not if. It's such a huge thing. Um, yeah, that's on. I want to start it on. I wanted to start on that point because I think just a lot of guys when it comes to like self development, when it comes to personal growth, when it comes to getting results out of life, um, we're operating from this idea of. So what we're doing is basing our current and future achievements or the possibility of those achievements happening based on what we have or haven't done in the past. Like we're allowing the past to dictate what our future will look like. And that's such a huge mistake because, and I understand it. I mean, there's a lot, it's not that you failed, it's not that something went wrong. There was a lot of emotions that came along with that, right? Like, say you wanted to start a business and you started like, 3 years ago, and your first venture, whatever it was, it just didn't work out. You maybe put in a good amount of capital into it. You told your family, friends, like, hey, this is going to work out, and I'm going to be this, I'm going to do this, like, start this really great business. I'm going to be able to quit my job, whatever you said. And it just didn't really happen. I mean, obviously, you have the feeling of disappointment, maybe even embarrassment when it came to, like, telling your friends and family, like, hey, this didn't really work out. And that's just the sense of like, what was I doing? This sense of feeling lost and confused and um, like all these emotions going into it. So I understand where this comes from, and I don't want us to kind of divorce the emotional aspect of this from what we're trying to do currently in our own lives. Um, and this isn't to be like wishy-washy or anything like that. It's really just to be in tune with who you are as a man and understand that your emotions do play a role in your life. Like disregarding them and pretending like you can just weather this out and doesn't matter, just keep charging forward. I mean, that's I do I would prefer someone just charge forward and disregard their emotions, sure, as long as it gets some results. But if you're still holding on to what happened in the past, you need to resolve that in some way. You need to listen to motivational speakers. You need to really understand that you have a lot in your life going for you. You need to just become grateful for all the opportunities and all the kind of resources that you have at your fingertips in terms of what you can do. I mean, not to speak about myself, but I mean, look at what I have. I'm recording from my smartphone. I'm using just whatever, the camera, the laptop I have. I have this mic and I'm not doing anything special. Like I don't have like a fancy podcast setup. I don't have special lighting. I just have, the window in front of me. That's my natural lighting right there. And I'm just being resourceful with what I have because my obsession is with getting to a certain stage in my life. And the only reason why I'm doing any of this is because I understand that if I'm truly grateful for all the resources and all the knowledge and all the kind of um, whatever I have in my life, like the best way to be grateful for whatever you have is to make the most use of it, right? Like if someone gave you a really cool gift, if they gave you like a really nice camera or something for your birthday, and then year later they're like, oh, like how's that camera? Like I'm sure you must have really used it to, when you went on this trip to make, really take nice photos. and you're like, yeah, I didn't really use it. It's just still in the box. I mean, the person who gave it to me, like, what the hell? Like, I just gave you like this really like $1,000 camera. You didn't even use it. What the hell's wrong with you? It's the same thing with everything in our life, man. Like, we have so much to be grateful for, and obviously, when as speaking as Muslim, like, I have so much to be grateful for. God, Allah, He's given me so much in my life, and for me to not make the most of it, I mean, that's just being a disservice to what He's given to me, and I have to be answerable to Him. Like, He's gonna ask me, like, hey, I gave you all of this. Like, did you use it to spread positivity? Did you use it to motivate other people to get on their mission? Did you use it as a means to getting to financial freedom? Did you use that so like you can actually do what you want in life? Like, if the answer is no, or like I didn't really do it, or like I didn't really want to, I mean, that's just gonna be something I have to be answerable for. So definitely focus on operating on when, not if, because this is the last thing I'll say on this point. Your life is short. Your life is really short. I mean, you could be in your 20s right now. You're probably like around my age, and you think that, oh, like, it doesn't really matter. I'll like get started when I'm 30, when I have like a nice job and I move into my nice house, and when I have like a missus, and she can be my supporter and my business partner and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's cool, if those things work out for you. But what guarantee do you have that something might not happen in the next 10 years, and you're not able to do the things that you wanted to do? So why are you delaying this? Why are you delaying getting started on whatever you have to do in your life? And this is really just a message to me, because I delayed a lot of things, not just the business, but a lot of things in my personal life too. And it's just like, why let that happen? I mean, if something comes up and you're forced to be delayed, I mean, that's a totally different thing. But let's be honest, like, how often does that happen? It's usually just us getting in our own way and making excuses for why we're not getting the results we want out of life. So operate on when, not if, because if you start with this mindset, you'll definitely achieve some level of success. Even if you don't get there the whole way, you'll be glad you've gone there partly, because that'll give you momentum and you'll have something to build off of. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is you want to set action-oriented goals versus results-oriented goals. And I made these terms just out of thin air. I don't know if they're actually like real things, but let me try and explain them, and maybe you'll get a sense of like what I'm trying to get across with this point. So let's, for example, assume you want to do 10 pull-ups by next month. 10 pull-ups by next month. You can control this outcome. I mean, you can look at yourself. You say you can barely do one, and then you can over the next month you do a bunch of like pull-up exercises, maybe get your back stronger, and by the end of it you're like, yeah, like I achieved 10 pull-ups. Versus you say, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle in the next 3 months, or the next like month. Let's keep the time frames similar. I mean, sure, I mean, you could do that, but when you're starting out, when you're just on the very first steps on your personal growth journey, you want to set goals which are action oriented, which build off of daily habits or weekly habits, whatever the case may be, and there's actually actions that you can do to achieve them. That's why, when I was starting my own, like when I was starting this podcast, my first instinct was to be like, oh, in the next 3 months I want to have like 500 subscribers. But then I asked myself, do I actually have control over that? In terms of my daily habits, in terms of like what I'm doing, when I'm actually recording, in terms of like all the technical things I have to do to get this running, do I have control over getting 500 subscribers in the next 3 months? And the answer is obviously no. I can influence that outcome. I can make choices which bring me closer to that outcome, but I don't control it fully. So that's why when I started this podcast, my goal was to have 12 episodes in the first 3 months. And alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, I achieved that. It was just almost to the date. I think it was like March 31st was when I put out the 12th episode. So really grateful for that. But I mean, it just goes to show that when you are on this journey, when you want to do something in your life, you want to focus on action-oriented goals. because those are things that you can actually control, and you can reliably see over the past like couple of weeks, months, years, whatever your time frame is. Am I making progress towards this? And can I make changes in terms of what I'm doing to really get to this goal? And the whole point of this, when it comes, is just like really having a good sense of control and autonomy over your goals, because when we're just getting started, we don't have a lot of wins on our sides. Like, if anything, we have a lot of L's that we're still like dealing with. So building wins, stacking wins, you want to do this in the easiest way possible, in a way that actually builds up your confidence. And that's why I'm saying set action oriented goals. And I'm not saying don't set results oriented goals at all. But if it helps you get started, this is what I want you to focus on. And then once you have some momentum, once you start getting some results, once you have a sense of like who you are, what you're capable of, then starts transitioning to more like standard, what standard goal setting is, and then build off of that. But my point with saying all of this is that you need to get started, you need to have momentum, and this is in my personal opinion, this is the best way to go about it. And the last point I want to talk about on this topic is you want to reduce friction when it comes to getting started with your goals. Um, Obviously, this means that you only want to be doing the things that actually drive forward the results you want to get, that actually have the highest ROI in terms of getting you the kinds of achievements that you want to have. But you also want to think about, on a day-to-day basis, in terms of getting started on your goals, or just breaking over the first barrier, the first step, which is always the hardest step. You want to reduce friction as much as possible when it comes to that. So for me, when I started working at the gym, um, what I used to do was I used to take the commuter rail back home from work, and the gym I used to go to was right by the train station. It was like literally not even a minute drive. So what I used to do was I used to go straight from the getting off the train to the gym. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, if I go home and then I'm like, I'll just come back, in like an hour or so after like eating something, I'm probably not gonna go. I mean, sometimes like what I had to do was just like have some coffee on the way back on the train, not really have like a full meal or anything, and then just do what I had to do in terms of like doing my workout. But for me, I tried to reduce that friction because I understood for myself, like if I don't do this, if I don't just go to the gym straight after getting off the train, like I'm just not gonna go for that day. Like I'm just gonna be BSing myself and telling myself like, hey, I'll go, but I'm not truly gonna go. Then when it comes to this podcast, my setup time for all of this, in terms of like all the stands and all the equipment and stuff, is like less than 5 minutes. I just put everything together, and I just hit record, and I'm good to go. Now we do have more complicated stuff. I have like this boom arm, and I have like this mount for the mic and everything. I did use it for the first couple, like maybe 2 episodes when I was still figuring everything out. But one, it was just really cumbersome in terms of like all this stuff around me, and two, it was just like really time consuming. Like it took me a good like 15 minutes to just put everything together, and then I had to like okay get myself mentally ready to record the video or the episode, and it was just adding a lot of friction, a lot of unnecessary steps to getting to the point I wanted to. So it was just like, let me just use the simple like stand this mic came with. Let me just use like this tripod uh, thing for my phone, and let me just get started, and we'll just make the most of it. So that's what I've been doing, and alhamdulillah, I mean, it's really been working well, in terms of really just increasing my output and really just making life simple for me. Um, so that's what I would, when it comes to this point, when you're thinking about what you want to do in your own life, maybe it's like you want to start your own business, reduce friction in that. Um, Really just, understand that if you have like a certain time when you really work well with this, like no distractions, maybe it's like an hour after you've had dinner and everyone's asleep and you can just focus, do that instead of being like this hero in like, and being like, oh, I'm gonna wake up at like 4 a.m. and I'm gonna do it, and but at that time you're kind of like still like kind of groggy, you're still kind of sleepy, and that aspect alone is going to impact like the quality of work you do. So like just be honest with yourself, like, do I need to make my life more complicated than it actually needs to be? Or can I get started what I have? Just focus on speed instead of like making everything perfect. And that's another point I didn't like write this or anything, but you want to focus on speed and execution and just really just focus on that. What I'm doing in terms of this episode, this is the second video I'm recording today after the one I did just previously. Now I could have like yeah, and the time frame, the time I took between these two videos maybe was like 10 minutes, 15 minutes just to write up the script and everything. I could have said like, oh, like I recorded a decent video and now I can like take the day off, and I would that no one would blame me though. But oh, like you put out a good YouTube video. I mean, it's something that it's going to be out there. Um, no one would blame me for taking the rest of the day off or doing my own thing. But I was just like, let me I have everything set up. Let me just get started. Let me just do it. Like this is in terms of like reducing friction, there's nothing I have to. This is all the friction has been like completely eliminated. Honestly, like I've done all the work in terms of like setting this up. I just had to press record again for the second time, and now I'm making this happen. So let me recap all the steps, all the tips I gave you, and we'll wrap up the episode right here. The first thing I said was operate on when, not if. I want you guys to really focus and just really internalize this and think about this. There's a lot that I'm saying when I'm saying this, so really take it to heart when I mean, when I say this. Operate on when, not if, with everything you do in life. Set action-oriented goals as opposed to results-oriented goals in terms of getting momentum, getting started on all of this. And then number 3, reduce friction in getting started with your goals, because all of these things tie in together. If you have friction, if you have like really lofty goals but you don't have control over them, and you're operating on like a bad mindset, like a bad like self-confidence or self-esteem, you're not going to get the results you want out of life. You'll get some, you'll have like your lucky wins or whatever, but you won't have the kind of reliable, sustainable, really excellent success that you want out of life. And the whole point of this podcast, the Manly Mission podcast, is to help you achieve your mission in life. A mission has many components to it, but the mission needs to succeed. You need to make it happen. Stop selling yourself short, man. Like, why? Just don't do that. Like, if I was talking to you in person and you were someone who was struggling with this, like, I would tell you. And I know you're sitting right in front of me because you're listening to me. I'm telling you that you have so much more potential in your life. You have no idea like what you can do if you just like put your head down, focus, and really just take what I'm telling you in terms of like all the mindset and all the tips I'm giving you. I mean, you'll be in a great position just like 3, 6, 12 months from now, and you'll be just like, and I don't need your thanks or anything. I just want you to succeed. I want you to really understand that you have a mission in life, and it's a manly mission. It's a mission that has components of what makes us men. It has strength. It has courage. It has being honest with ourselves. It has being true to our word. It has being disciplined. It has all these components to it. And you need to understand this and embark on that mission. And understand that it comes with its challenges, but you don't need to make it any more complicated or more difficult than it is already. So guys, I'm going to stop it right there. I think I've said what I need to say on this topic. Obviously, I would really welcome your feedback. If you're listening to this on YouTube, leave your comments, leave your thoughts in the comments in terms of like, did this resonate with you? Is this something that you will take action on? What other tips would you recommend to guys who want to get started on their goals and really achieve them? I really look forward to your comments, and I really do respond to them as much as I can. So really do appreciate that. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, really appreciate you tuning in. Leave me your honest rating. You can leave comments there as well. I'll read them, and then I'll implement them as much as I can going forward. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate your support, your appreciation, your help. And we're just getting started. We're on episode 15, but this movement, this Manly Mission podcast I've started out, it's gonna be big. inshallah, it's going to be big by the end of this year. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I want to give you as much value as I can. And we're going to do this together. This is not like a one-man mission. I should probably make an episode on that. It just came to my mind. This is not a one-man kind of mission. This is a team effort. So really feel like you're part of this because we all are. And I look forward to your success, man. And I really want you to succeed. And we're going to do great things in life. All right, guys, we're going to stop it right there. Thank you so much for listening to episode 15 of the Manly Mission Podcast with your host, Farhan Rana. And until next time, take care. Signing out.